What if I told you that when a pope dies, the darling hole stops? Don't sound the trumpets, there are none bangs, neither signs visible. But in a quiet corner of the universe, something sacred is happening. Angels bow, saints rise, demons observe, because a single soul, one that carried upon itself the spiritual weight of millions, is about to cross the threshold. Today we don't talk simply from the death of a old man dressed in white. No, we spoke of the spiritual judgment of a supreme pastor, of a successor of Peter, of the moment when the soul of a pope is laid bare before the eternal gaze of God. The death of a pope is not merely a historical or political event. It is an invisible earthquake that shakes the heavens. It's a celestial examination of conscience that no one go, but we will all fear someday. Have you ever wondered what happens to the soul of a pope when dies, who it receives, what is asked of him? Is he judged like you and me, or is his judgment is infinitely more severe? Padre Pio, the mystic who spoke with Jesus, who was bleeding the wounds of Christ and read the soul of the men, saw what no one dares to tell. Through his visions, he described 3 meetings that mark the eternal destiny of a pontiff. He revealed the existence of a book of light that opens in his sky, and spoke of a special purgatory reserved only for those who have been vicars of Christ in the earth. What you are about to discover is not in the history books, neither in the Vatican documents. They are truths revealed in the silence of the prayer, in the whispers of the eternal. And no, it's not just about Francis. Because although this video is inspired by the spiritual impact of his departure and in the mystical echoes it left behind his life, the true message is even deeper. It speaks to us about you, about me, about all of us, about what it means to carry with the soul of others, how our decisions affect more than we imagine, and by that, the death of a pope is also a mirror for the world. Imagine now, that moment, the Pope takes his last breath, the world falls silent, some cry, others debate. But in his sky, there is a judgment, one that does not measure no popularity, no speeches, no diplomacy, only faith, only truth, only love. This video is not a theory, it's a journey, a pilgrimage into the mystery of the papal death, seen through the eyes of a saint who lived among us, but who listened to the angels. Stay until the end, because knowing the secrets of the death of a pope, you could understand, for the first time, how prepare for the yours. There is no cameras that can capture it. There is no words that can describe it with justice, but there is a moment, a single instant, in where the earthly world and the spiritual world touch each other with an intensity impossible to measure. The exact moment in which a pope dies, in that second suspended between the last breath and the eternity, there is no sound, only a deep silence, older than the time. The Vatican can continue to function, watches can continue their course, but in it, invisible, something has happened, arrested. It is the silence of the angels who stand in training. It is the silence of the saints who wait in reverence. It is the silence of the demons watching with anxiety, waiting for a single shadow of pride or neglect, them grant right over the most influential soul of the world. Because the death of a pope is not like that of a king or a president. There is no armies nor crowns that accompany. There is another escort class, a spiritual procession that begins in up and down with solemnity. Padre Pio said that in the moment of the death of a pope, the souls who were marked by his decisions, spiritual, conscious or not, are summoned in the eternal tribunal. Like echoes of the past, like whispers of millions, those souls are part of the impending judgment. But who is the Pope in that moment? He is not a world leader. He is not a symbol. He is not the face of the church. It's simply a soul, a naked flame before the breath of the eternity. Guardian angels, assigned from their childhood, it surround. Some others cry, remain in silence, because they know that the responsibility of whom he took the invisible tiara of the spiritual leadership is enormous. Nobody knows their internal struggles. Nobody he heard all your prayers nocturnal. Nobody saw her lonely tears in the chapel. But in that moment, everything is revealed. And while the men debate his legacy, his political impact, his doctrinal positions, in heaven, there are no debates. There is truth, there is justice, and there is a silence so sacred that it could break the harder heart. That's where it begins, true judgment, one that cannot be avoided nor postponed, and although was Pope, now must answer like a man. That heavenly silence is the threshold. It is the anteroom of the mystery that Padre Pio contemplated and that we are about to unravel. While the modern world rests on his skepticism and the rational analysis, some men were chosen to see beyond of the veil. One of them it was Padre Pio. This stigmatized friar, who was bleeding the wounds of Christ and spoke with his guardian angel like someone chat with a brother, was a witness to secrets that neither the highest theologians have daring to imagine. Among them, one of the most shocking, what happens with the soul of a pope when he crosses to the other side. It wasn't in a single vision. Padre Pio recounted in fragments, between confessional whispers and sealed letters with pain, which had seen more than once judgment of a pontiff. In one of these visions, he described the Pope wrapped in a white tunic that was not of cloth, but of light, and to his around, colossal figures, beings of a beauty superhuman, with eyes like flames and wings that covered the horizon. Not all of them angels. They come to escort, he once said in a deep voice. Some observe, others they cry, and there is who measure. Do they measure? That Padre Pio stated that the Pope's soul was heavy, not only because of his sins or virtues personal, but by the effects of his words, for the souls touched by every decision. Like a network of invisible threads, the Pope was linked to every baptized person of the world, and that framework was strained in the moment of your death. Those threads, according to his visions, were golden when the influence had been holy, but some became dark, full of confusion, lukewarmness, or guilty silence, and those threads too weighed. In other vision, he recounted having seen a pope surrounded by what he called guardians of the intercession. They were not angels. They were souls of nuns, children, missionaries, and lay people who had offered his suffering for him during his pontificate. And all of them, in that supreme moment, they interceded, they cried, they implored mercy for his shepherd. The most impressive thing, however, was his description of the secret register. According to Padre Pio, the heaven does not judge by appearances, nor for politics. They exist books invisible, made of intention, love, and internal struggle that only God can read. And in the case of the Pope, that book is immense. Every sleepless night offered, every Eucharist celebrated in silence, every decision that hurt his heart but saved souls, all that is written. They are also the omissions, the fears that prevented speak, the times when it was preferred to please the world rather than defend the true. Padre Pio did not reveal names. He never said which pope he had seen, nor whether it was past or future, but he always ended with a phrase that resonated like a bell among those who they listened. Do not judge popes by what you see, because what is seen is only dust. God judges he fire that burns within. His visions were not condemnation, they were warning, and also consolation. Because if even the soul of the Pope is examined with such thoroughness, how much more we should live awake. In the earth, each Pope leaves behind him volumes of speeches, encyclicals, apostolic letters, canonical decisions. Archives integers are stored in vaults from the Vatican, preserved for centuries. But in heaven, there is just one book, and it's not written with ink or paper. Padre Pio called the Book of Light. And according to his revelations, this book opens in the very moment in which the soul of the Pope is received by the spiritual world. It is not a visible book. It has no pages that can touch each other, but his content burns with clarity impossible to deny. It is the faithful reflection of the pontificate as God intended it saw, not as it they judged the men. And there begins a review that is not based in titles nor in reputations. Every hidden gesture, every intention behind a homily, every tear that never fell in public, but that was offered silently, it appears there, like essences brilliant in the surface of that heavenly book. But not everything shines. They are also the shadows, the decisions made with human fear, the silences that cost souls, the concessions made for convenience or political pressure. Nothing is left out. The book does not accuse. The book shows. And that, according to Padre Pio, is the most terrifying thing, because in at that moment there are no masks, nor image consulting, no applause. Only truth, only God and the soul, in front of the mirror of the eternity. The saints, they said, the mystics, they do not fear he trial for punishment. They fear for the shame, because the light of God does not destroy, but reveals. It exposes, and in that light, even the highest among the men may shake. In a vision that shook those who they heard, Padre Pio narrated as a pope was crying without tears when he saw his open book, not because of the faults he had consciously committed, but because of those times in which, due to tiredness or distraction, he did not listen to the Holy Spirit who guided. Book of Light, also guard the moments of silent heroism. Those times that the Pope defended the true without anyone it knew. The days in which he resisted the temptation to give up. The nights in which he embraced the cross, completely alone, knowing that it would not be understood. And at the end of that book, there is a page that only Christ can read. Over there are the deepest intentions, the secrets of the heart, what neither he Pope himself understood himself same. That's the page that decides the fate, not what the world thought, not what the history scribe, but what God saw. And while the book closes slowly, eternity contains he breath. Because what is coming after, it's not a metaphor. It's the most real judgment that exists. Padre Pio spoke of a mystery that few they understood in his time. After the death, the soul of the Pope is not taken directly to the final judgment, but rather passes through 3 sacred encounters, 3 moments that not only reveal their eternal destiny, but rather confront with his own history from a dimension that never imagined. First encounter, Christ. There is no words to describe that moment. The soul of the Pope presents itself before the one whom served all his life, Jesus Christ. But here there are no thrones, no crowns, no titles, only 2 gazes, one divine, penetrating to the marrow of the soul, and another human that trembles between love and fear. Padre Pio said that Jesus does not begin with reproaches or with questions about papal documents. He only asks one question, the same as him made Peter in the bank from the lake. Do you love me? Not, were you popular? Did they obey you? Did they understand you? Just, did you love me? And in that moment, everything is revealed. Because true love leaves footprints. The words empty, no, the Pope before Christ relives every decision, not from logic, but from the heart with which it was taken, and feels what Christ felt with every soul touched by his actions. Joy, comfort, or pain. Second meeting the other popes. After Christ comes a scene even more unusual. The soul of the Pope is brought before the pontiffs who preceded, not as a meeting solemn, but as a kind of spiritual communion. Over there are Peter, the fisherman from Galilee, Leo the defender of the faith, John Paul II, the traveler tireless, and so many others, some with serene faces, others with serious looks. Don't speak a lot, they don't judge, but they observe. Padre Pio said that this moment is like a multiplied mirror. The Pope sees how your decisions resonated in the sacred line of succession, if he honored the legacy, or if, out of fear or ideology, diverted. It's not a court. It's a living, breathing legacy that demands consistency. And before them, the Pope understands that he was never alone, that every word his continued or interrupted a current of holiness transmitted from the cross. Third encounter, the affected souls, the most painful, the most unexpected. Padre Pio assured that, in the end, the Pope finds himself with the individual souls who were touched by his pontificate, not anonymous multitudes, specific people. The priest who lost the faith because he was misguided, the mother he found comfort thanks to a homily, the young man who left the church for a confusion doctrinal, the religious who was strengthened in the prayer. One look at the eyes, and there is no accusation direct, only presence, only truth. This meeting is not about punishment, but about understanding. The Pope feels, in his spiritual flesh, the eternal impact of every decision made, and that it transforms it, it purifies it, it takes it away. Padre Pio said that this third encounter is so profound that many papal souls, they cry like never before they did in life. It is the moment when the heart of the shepherd breaks and gives himself completely. Only after these three encounters, the soul is ready for the trial of the mercy, because only he who has been confronted by love, history, and souls may be truly caught. And what happens after will mark its eternity. Many imagine that when a pope dies, he goes directly to heaven, surrounded by angels and eternal songs. But the reality, according to Padre Pio's visions, are very different and much more human. The papal crown weighs even after the death, he said, the saint. Because who had in his hands the faith of millions, too must purify every gram of that responsibility before the light of God. Padre Pio revealed that there is a special place in purgatory, reserved only for pontiffs. It is not a punishment. It is a preparation, a sacred space where the souls of popes are refined like gold in fire, not for his personal sins only, but by the spiritual dimension of their actions as leaders of the Church. Their every omission, every unresolved doubt, every word that could have misled or confused is confronted with the perfect love of God. Imagine a fire that does not burn flesh, but ego, a space where there are no screams, but a deep awareness of what could have happened, have been made better. Padre Pio said that this papal purgatory is not the same for everyone. Some they spend little time, purified by a life of hidden holiness. Others, even venerated in the earth, face a long internal process because the external brightness not always reflects the state of the soul. In that place, the Pope is no longer an authority. He is simply son. He doesn't teach. He learns. He doesn't guide. He lets himself be guided. And meanwhile, the world goes on, unaware that the soul of the one who once blessed multitudes now prays for them. In the silence of the purification, some popes, according to the Capuchin saint, intercede from the purgatory. They remain spiritually united to the Church, offering their soul pains to strengthen those who still they go on pilgrimage. That's the power of the communion of saints, that even after the death, the charity does not end. The purgatory of the popes is, in true, an act of divine mercy, because God does not seek to punish. He seeks to purify. He does not seek revenge, but restoration. And if he demands so much from a pope, it is because I trusted so much, because not everyone carries with the keys of the kingdom, but who the carried must be completely clean to enter the king's house. The death of a pope does not mark the end of his pontificate. In a mystery of the eternal, its influence continues, like a wave that expands greatly after being launched the stone. Padre Pio expressed with a shocking phrase, even in a purgatory, a pope can continue to guide souls. His words, his gestures, his silences, everything continues resonating in the awareness of the Church. Every encyclical she wrote, every reform she initiated, every act of compassion or firmness continues to inspire or challenge those who they come behind. It is not mere memory, it is an active spiritual heritage. Catholic tradition teaches that the saints intercede from the heaven, but Padre Pio added that some popes intercede from the purgatory, and that his prayers, they are like burning embers offered out of love to the Church. Imagine it, a papal soul burning in purification, and at the same time praying for you, for me, for every confused faithful, every priest in crisis, every mother who teaches her son to pray. That is the greatness of pastoral love, which never dies with his body. The legacy of a pope is not measured in tributes. It is measured in conversions, in perseverance of the faith, in seminaries that are filled or emptied by their example. And it is precisely that legacy that influences in his final judgment. Because God does not only judge what we did while we breathed, but what we left breathing behind us. The life of a pope, then, does not end in his coffin. It is a flame that continues turning on others, or if he was not faithful, a shadow that follows getting dark paths. Is why, as Padre Pio said, trial of a pope continues even after the death. And that is a truth that prepares us for the final revelation. After all we have seen, an inevitable question arises. And us? If a pope, with all his wisdom, prayer and surrender, trembles before the God's judgment, what will become of us, mere mortals, those who walk without mitres or croziers, but with equally eternal souls? Padre Pio did not share these visions to instill fear, did to wake up, because in his mystical wisdom understood a truth that many they forget. We will all be judged by how we influence in the others. It is not necessary to be pope to have spiritual responsibility, a father of a family guide little souls every day. A teacher leaves fingerprint in generations without know it. A young man on networks can confuse or enlighten thousands with a single post. And each one of us has a mini pontificate that is not seen, but that will be examined with the same light of love and truth. Padre Pio taught that, like the popes, we all have a luminous book written with ours most hidden decisions. No matter how little you believe you are, your influence touches eternity, and like a pope, we will meet Christ. He won't ask us how many followers we had, or if we went to Mass every Sunday out of routine. He'll look at us. Eyes, and like Peter will ask us, "Did you love me?" It is there that we will understand that the true success is not recognition, but loyalty. That is why the death of a pope is not just news. It is a reminder, a call, a mirror that shows us how serious and sacred are our everyday acts. And if a pope needs prayer after his death, how much more us? If a pope, guide of the church, shepherd of the world, successor of Peter, trembles before the God's judgment, how can we not prepare ourselves? This is not a story to feed morbidity, nor to speculate about the death. It is an urgent call to the soul, a whisper that Padre Pio left us, hoping we would wake up, because the death does not choose rank, judgment does not distinguish fame. And eternity, it is not bought with applause. The only thing that weighs on the divine balance is love, not sentimental, fleeting, easy love, but sacrificial, faithful, silent love, the love that forgives, that prays, that guides, that offers itself. Today, knowing what the soul of a pope experiences when he dies, we are also offered an opportunity to live with eternal consciousness. Are you ready to open your own book of light? Begin with something small. Examine your conscience every night. Approach the sacrament of the confession. Pray for those you influence, even without give you account. Don't wait to become holier to start. Start so you can become one. And now, I want to listen to you. What do you think of these revelations from Padre Pio? Do you think we will all be judged, also for the souls we touch? Leave your comment below. Your reflection can awaken others. And if this video touched you, the soul, don't keep it all to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that the death is not the end, but the beginning of the true face of life. Subscribe to discover more mysteries the modern world has forgotten. And remember, eternity is being prepared today.